I promise you, this is one of the funniest things ever. It's even better than Randy Pitchford crashing out about Borderlands 4 being a failure. From the company that was once worth literally billions, now worth barely millions, soon to be owned by the corporate extension of the Chinese Communist government, to the makers of the games that literally were supposed to sell billions into barely selling any copies at all. I bring you the greatest and funniest thing Ubisoft has ever done in their entire lives. Honestly, this should go down in history. Let's get into this, boys. You will not be disappointed. Ubisoft asks the developers at Star Wars Outlaws Studio to lay themselves off. Now, obviously, this headline alone is absolutely pure gold. But this headline doesn't even encompass a single percent of how hilarious this whole thing is. And by the way, I told you that Star Wars Outlaws was an absolute disaster. And some of you didn't believe me. Well, here we are. Because as we all know, obviously, successful people get laid off because reasons, I guess. I don't know. Pick one. I don't care. Ubisoft is asking an unknown number of developers at the studio behind The Division, a completely failed botch thing that I never talked about. I just know it's a failure and people did not like it. Division 2, Avatar, Frontiers of Pandora. Now, I did actually talk about this one, and this was bad, okay? This honestly would have been better if it was AI slop, but it sadly wasn't. Probably one of the worst games, story-wise, gameplay-wise, in decades from a AAA company. And Star Wars Outlaws to voluntarily lay themselves off as a part of the French publisher's latest cost-cutting restructuring. That is... Imagine you actually ask your employees, hey, can't you lay yourself off so we don't have to pay you? Which is crazy. And you know what's the funniest part? They're gonna just lose the rest of the shrinking non-existential talent that they have. Because all the talent has already left Ubisoft, and it's called the studio that made Clair Obscure Expedition 33, needless to say. But it gets better, okay? This is just the warm-up stage. As part of our ongoing evolution and long-term planning, we have recently, supposed to be, realigned our teams and resources to strengthen our roadmap, ensuring our continued focus on the Division franchise and the technologies, including Snowdrop and Ubisoft Connect, that powers our games. That's a real fancy way to say that you're gonna lay off people and replace them with AI, by the way, because this is exactly what that means. Our workers are absolute garbage slop. We're gonna replace them with AI. It can't really get any worse than that, can it? And again, we're still not at the best parts of it. The Sweden-based studio announces in a statement on Wednesday, that was the statement, by the way, to support this transition responsibly. Now, this is the only transitioning I do support. These people from employed to unemployed. Who said I'm not progressive? The most progressive person here, okay? I am for transitioning. Let it be known here, Quasar77 is an ally, and I raise my head up high when we're talking about this sort of transition case. To support this transition responsibly, we introduced a voluntarily career transition program. Voluntarily career transitioning program. Ubisoft, please give HR a raise, because, man, they fucking worked really hard to make this one, okay? This is the greatest sentence of corporate speak I have ever heard in my entire life. To introduce a voluntarily career transition program to being unemployed. And you bet some of these people there are a program. Let me just get in there. Giving eligible team members the opportunity. You are eligible to being fired. Isn't that great? You can't make this up. HR definitely deserves a raise for this one. This is the most hilarious piece of propaganda I have ever seen in my corporate life. The opportunity to take their next career steps as unemployed on their own terms. Supported by a comprehensive package that includes financial and career assistance. Oh my god. You cannot make this up. And you bet people at Ubisoft are like, man, this sounds really good. Career opportunities to be unemployed. Man, I'm sold. Man, HR was up all night making this statement, and man, it hits hard, boys. Okay, listen, it hits hard. I'm not gonna lie. Massive was acquired by Ubisoft from Activision Blizzard back in 2008. It initially began supporting the publisher on Assassin's Creed and Far Cry before spearheading the development of The Division, an ambitious multiplayer shooter that let players team up and fight one another over all loot in a ghostly depiction of post-outbreak New York. So literally baseline New York. That's pretty good. Why are they calling it post-outbreak New York? Bro, this is just normal New York. Everyone knows the Division was modern. Okay, very woke. I like it. While its Snowdrop engine is now being used in the development of the next Far Cry, recent licensing projects like Avatar Frontiers of Pandora and Star Wars Outlaws, Jesus Christ, those games are so bad. A lot of people did not check out Pandora, but man, it was so bad. You can still, by the way, look at my video from back in the day about Frontiers of Pandora. You just literally write in Pandora and you're gonna find it in the search bar. Haven't delivered new best-selling franchises? Yes, because they literally took Assassin's Creed, but Japan, the thing that was supposed to be in case of bankruptcy, break glass here, sell literally 1 billion copies and become the first billion copy selling game. Other companies, I think, have sold 1 billion copies, not sure. But that would still be amazing. And Ubisoft decided, well, before this, we made bad games because we were talentless. Now, let's be talentless and super woke with Assassin's Creed Shadows. And it completely backfired, needless to say. Holy, did it backfire hard. The cuts come as Ubisoft shifts its management structure under the new deal with Chinese conglomerate Tencent, which has invested over 1 billion in the smaller subsidiary called Vantage Studios, which will prioritize franchises like Assassin's Creed, Far Cry, Rainbow Six Siege. AKA, this is just they're trying to put all the good franchises in one place in case Ubisoft fails to pay off its debt, only one of it dies, which is a very neat corporate restructuring thing that, I mean, it's the most maximum corporate restructuring that you can ever have, splitting up the company in smaller divisions, which doesn't make sense in my opinion. Well, it does make sense if you wanna if you want to be greedy about this. But again, I will remind everyone, Europe's not going to allow Tencent to actually do this. They got sued, and this is not over. With none of the projects it leads in that group, Massive appears to be on the chopping block. Good, they haven't done anything good. Though it's unclear how many active developers will be laid off as part of this initiative. A lot. Needless to say, absolutely huge amount. Because Ubisoft proper, what's going to be left of it, is effectively going to have to cut down huge swaths of their developers, their staff, their everything, because they're gonna effectively be making kind of like double A titles from this moment onward. And the Tencent Yves Guillemot led conglomerate. By the way, conglomerate is just a fancy way of saying really, really big, huge company with a lot of diverging assets, effectively. Not technically the wiki definition, but it's actually the real life definition that most people understand as a conglomerate, in finance at least. So the more you know. And, that part, the conglomerate part of all the big IPs, is going to do the AAA development. And that's kind of it. Needless to say, I think they're going to fail. I don't know who cares about Far Cry anymore. Rainbow Six Siege has a plethora of trans operators at this point, and the next Assassin's Creed was planned to be fighting the KKK, which I'm sad that they canceled because that would have been the most hilarious thing after this article. But props to Ubisoft. Their HR definitely deserves a raise after writing this absolutely hilarious thing. Or at least they deserve to be replaced by AI the last. Maybe AI actually wrote this. I doubt that anyone at Ubisoft is smart enough to do any of this. Anyway, that was hilarious. This is unironically why Kotaku deserves to exist, because you cannot get articles this close to satire even if you try. Anyway, boys, like the video hyped up right now. Takes less than a second. I greatly appreciate it. Thank you for everyone who watched this, and have a nice day. Bye bye.